Quality Broadcasters Jim Lang. He joins us on this Monday to talk NFL Week 8. And Jim, I'm just going to, in the most broadest of terms, ask you, what are your takeaways so far as we lead up to the Monday nighter tonight, Giants at Steelers?
Well, I have to tell you, I've been so impressed with the Houston Texans and C.J. Stroud. I mean, I thought he was good. He's just consistently doing so well and improving bit by bit. The Detroit Lions, there's nothing fluky about what Dan Campbell has built in Detroit. They are a legit juggernaut football team, hanging 50-plus on the Titans. The Bills, to win in Seattle is not easy. To win like that, very impressive. Quietly, Denver and Sean Payton are putting together a solid season. But that ending of Washington, the Hail Mary, how it came together, is a real lesson for all athletes out there that you play to the very, very final whistle. And they had a defensive back celebrating and taunting the crowd in Washington, the Commanders fans, and he was out of position for the winning touchdown. And traditionally, the day after a football game, the team gathers and watches the film. It's going to be awfully silent in that room in Chicago, knowing that DB, because of his selfishness, and wanting to celebrate, wanting to make it all about him and not playing to the final whistle, cost the Bears a game they should have won.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm wondering, too, where in the NFL, because you've been covering it for so long and so closely, is that breakaway point with the separation where the teams, the seasons are over, it's over, and teams are gearing up? I know the trade deadline's November 5th, which is like a week away. But who's a legit contender now? Who's separated themselves? I mean, I don't think we had Washington leading the division, or at least I didn't. You got some competition with the Eagles, of course. But where's that point? Where's that point, that breakaway point?
We are about 3 or 4 weeks away. Now, a lot of coaches and personnel people and players will say the real NFL season starts on U.S. Thanksgiving, which is about a month away. But to be honest with you, we're about a couple of weeks away from a few teams that will be just too deep in a hole to climb out of. And this is why the Cincinnati Bengals losing to the Eagles really, really hurts their playoff chances. They'd have to go on a monumental run to have a chance of the postseason, where the Eagles, now after all the criticism for Nick Sirianni and the Eagles, are putting together, starting to stack wins and get back to playing their kind of football. The Jets are done. It's over. It's been a complete debacle with Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. I think Green Bay is starting to think that they have something special there, winning despite some of their injuries. Arizona, a huge win for the Cardinals. I think they're one of the teams on the cusp, as you talk about. They lose that game yesterday. Now they start maybe thinking of next year. The way they won that game, now they're starting to think maybe we have a shot. Maybe we do something at the deadline. So we're a couple weeks away from a couple teams being declared completely out of it. But there's a few teams based on their wins yesterday. Atlanta, I think definitely Arizona. They're looking at it like, you know what? We're just right there. We're a couple wins away from being playoff contenders in their respective divisions.
Well, you know, it's funny you say that, because do teams go into the season thinking if we just win our division, we'll be fine, and then go from there because you know that's going to clinch you a playoff berth? Or is that not the way that they look at it?
Well, you win your division, you have a home playoff game. You have a home playoff game, but that's right. A huge advantage, especially depending on where you play. If you're the Buffalo Bills, you're the Green Bay Packers, and you're playing in early January at home, even if you're a 10-win team, that is a huge, huge advantage. And the Baltimore Ravens, if they win that division and that AFC North with their running game and Derrick Henry, and it gets pretty nasty weather in early January in Baltimore, that's a big advantage, Rod. So, yeah, yes, you'd like home field ideally throughout the playoffs and be the number one seed. But barring that, you're like, hey, let's win our division. Let's get a home playoff game, because then we win that home playoff game, anything can happen. You know, I heard you guys talking earlier about how the Saskatchewan Roughriders traditionally don't win the league and then go on to win the Grey Cup. And in recent memory, we've had a number of teams in the NFL who have been wild card teams or just have one home playoff game and have had to go on the road the rest of the way and win it. And so, yeah, I'm a big believer. You can get that one home playoff game. That's big. And that's why, I mean, it's big for San Francisco yesterday to have a shot at their division, to win that game yesterday against a very, very disappointing Dallas Cowboys team. How the San Francisco 49ers, with all their injuries, were able to score 30 points and run the way they did against Dallas, I'm I honestly don't know what Jerry Jones is thinking, how that team is built, how they allowed that many yards on the ground and simply couldn't run themselves. I mean, it's one of those head scratchers. I mean, a couple of years ago, even the last year, their defense was much stouter than that. And Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones and the Cowboys, I am sorry to tell you, Rod, they've got a mess on their hands.
Not telling me anything I don't know. Over the last couple of weeks, it's shocking to me that people have just found out that Jerry Jones is a narcissist. We're just discovering there's no plan. Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, there's no plan. But I could have told you that. None of this surprises me, therefore I'm not even upset. But Ryan in upstate New York, Cardinal Ryan writes in, he says, "Good day, Rod Squad. Pack it up. At one Jets drive, time to start another rebuild under Woody Johnson. As for me, it's time to concentrate on hockey." He's a Devils fan. Listen, this firing of Robert Saleh not only didn't work on the long term, it ain't working on the short term. What a debacle. You want to talk about messes.
It all started in the offseason. They should have signed Hassan Reddick because he was so important to the defense, and they messed around with his contract, and they missed some important games, and he would have been so useful that first month of the season. And then, you know, the story around the league that won't go away is Aaron Rodgers is running the New York Jets. I don't care how good of a player you are. You can't run a football team. You can't run a hockey team. You can't run a baseball team. You're either a coach or a GM or a player. And that goes back to Dallas. Jerry Jones is the owner and GM and player personnel and scout. That's not, you can't do that. And unfortunately for Jets fans, and this caller is 100% right, that already they're in rebuild, looking ahead to the draft. What do we do in the offseason? Because, I mean, there's a lot of tough questions. First of all, who's going to coach the team? The way it's constituted right now with the ownership, with the management, the influence of Aaron Rodgers, there's a lot of potential coaches would go, do I want to go there? Because the Bill Belichick free agency, the UFA, is out there, and week after week, when he's breaking down film and explaining what's going on and how it's going to happen and why it happened, I can't imagine there is an owner in the NFL looking at a coaching change, basically telling their people, contact his agent and tell him, I don't care how much money he wants, I want you to run my football team. So then Bill Belichick's going to have his choice with teams, and where he wants to go, where he thinks is the best fit. And right now, why would he go to the Jets? The way it's going right now, the way Woody Johnson's running things, and just the dysfunction of it. I don't think he'd want any part of that.
Who knows? Who knows what he's thinking? I guess we're going to find out. Hey, in the time we have left, I got a million NFL things for you, obviously. We'll bring you back and delve into those. Let's talk about your book. We're in the holiday gift-giving season. Talk about Everyday Hockey Heroes, please. Volume 3.
Everyday Hockey Heroes, Volume 3. Angela James, Jim Pack, remember him from the Penguins? Mark Borowiecki.
Yep.
Some great individual. There's an individual in Ontario who's made it his life mission to donate slightly used hockey equipment to Indigenous communities, not just in Ontario, but across Canada, as far as the Northwest Territories, to make sure kids in these reservations, in these Indigenous communities, have access to hockey equipment and can play sports and play hockey. There is a chapter on that has ties to Saskatchewan. It's the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League that will wait till the book comes out next week that people will find out about. But people out west, especially in Saskatchewan and the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League, it will hit near and dear to them about the one chapter. And it's an interesting book to me. Keith Peemer writes the forward that there are so many people out there in the community, in our backyards, all across this nation, who do so much to keep hockey alive as a sport, to make it accessible to so many people, including, I'm sure you knew him as well as I do, Rob Kerr out of Calgary, Rod. And he does a lot of work with the Heroes Hockey, and he takes kids with physical disabilities, and they've created these special cages where they can hold the kids up and they can be pushed around and feel like they're playing hockey. And it's changed the lives of a lot of people, and a lot of NHLers past and present have climbed on board. And so it's just shining a spotlight how they got into it, how they do it, and how they make hockey a better sport for all Canadians.
Good job, man. That sounds awesome. I can't wait to get my hands on it. Jimmy, always a great job, brother. Let's do it again soon.
Real quick, Mike Morreale, I knew him as a player, educated, a background in business. sports marketing. He's a current commissioner. The CFL, please listen to his pitch. This is the kind of individual in his 40s that could conceivably be your commissioner the next 2-3 decades. And very active in social media. And my big pet peeve with the current ownership and management and the commissioner of the CFL, Randy Ambrosie, is once the season was over, the league disappeared for 5 months. But Mike Morale wouldn't allow that if he was commissioner. Hire Mike.
Hire Mike. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Ron.
Jim Clubber Lang.